All right, if we could take our seats. Welcome to this evening's meeting. We are going to have our invocation by Pastor Emmett L. McCourt Jr. of For Christ's Sake Church of Jonesboro. That will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would, please stand with me.
Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening, Lord, to acknowledge you sovereign over our lives. We know that you are the author and the finisher, Lord, Father of our lives. And Lord, you already know the beginning and the end. Lord, we ask right now, Father, that you bless, Father, this commission and also, Father, this community. All those who serve, Lord, Father, our police officers, Lord, firemen, Lord, Father, all those, Father, who are in the ranks. Lord, we thank you right now, Lord, for what you've already done. Continue to protect us, Lord, Father, as only you can. Father, we'll forever give you the praise. And it's in Jesus Christ's name that we pray. Let us all say amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to the July 5th, 2016 regular business meeting. The first order of business is the adoption of the agenda. Does any member want to offer any amendments?
Yes. I would like for us to take off 2016-136.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye. Madam Clerk, I'd like to,
It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. Go ahead, Mr.
Thank you.
Anderson.
sorry, Chairman, I'd like to move that we remove item 2016-130 regarding the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Morrow for further study.
I'll second it. Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
Are there any further amendments?
Yes, there are. Give me a second. Which was that one that you took off? Which item number was it?
136.
That was resolution.
Resolution 136.
Okay, I would like to take off item 1, RFB 16-01.
I'll second that.
Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
That lightens the load.
Service agreement. Item 15, resolution 2016-136. I
That's-
asked to table that.
That's second.
We already did that.
Oh, you already
what-
did
that's
that? Okay. Let's see, that's tomorrow one. And lastly, the variance request, the petitioner is asking to pull it once again.
Can we do that legally since it was already read? We can. I'll second that.
All right, properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Are there any further amendments? Hearing none, may we have a motion to adopt the agenda with the approved amendments?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the agenda with the approved amendments.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Approval of the June 21st, 2016 regular business meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes from last meeting.
I'll second it. Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
I abstain
Oh,
for
that-
being
yeah,
absent.
Chairman.
I abstain too because I was not here. Thank you, Commissioner
I'll
Rhodes.
second that.
Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. 2 abstentions on that.
Okay. The board will now hear public comment. Mr. Chairman, we do have citizens that have signed up to speak before the board. Citizens will be given 3 minutes maximum time limit to speak before the Board of Commissioners. Please state your name and count of residency for the record. Speak clearly into the microphone. And speakers should be courteous, respectful, and not make any disparaging remarks or use abusive language when addressing the board.
Ken Braden.
Hello, my name's Ken Braden. I reside in Henry County. I'm the Facilities and Capital Improvement Manager for Jamco Properties. We own and manage 21 apartment complexes around Atlanta, 11 of those being here in Clayton County. We're downsizing our portfolio. We're going to be selling Ashfield Ridge, Bradford Ridge, and Laurel Point. We're different than a lot of property owners in that we invest in our communities to make them a better place while providing affordable living. For example, when we purchased Laurel Point, which is a 600-unit complex, there were sections of the property that were boarded up because the previous owners did not have the funds or did not want to invest the funds in the property. We came in, installed new windows, doors, lighting, fencing, among other things, and improved the community, all while giving affordable living. In my 15 years in this business, I've seen us take properties, turn them around. I've also seen owners walk away and let properties fall into such bad shape that the county has to come in and demolish them. In Clayton County, there was one recently off Battle Creek in Valley Hill, which y'all were talking about still a month ago. It sat there for years. Numerous fires, news reports from neighbors complaining about the county not doing anything fast enough. Now Clayton County has another one called Tracewood, which y'all saw these pictures last time, and I have copies for y'all if y'all would like them. This is what a property will turn to if someone doesn't take care of it. This is our property. We take care of our properties. Having 40-year-old properties, I can see how this happens. It takes a lot of time and money to keep them running up to quality standards that we have in place. We could easily sell these properties to several interested parties because we've invested so much in them. However, the next owner may not be willing to keep investing and this can lead to a downward spiral. Soon they're going to have to drop their qualifications for residents to be able to rent the units, which can lead to criminal activity. Eventually people don't want to live there and the income drops. There aren't funds available for day-to-day operations or worst case, mortgage payments. If the county is lucky, the bank comes in and runs it till they can sell it. If it's too far gone, like the ones I've previously mentioned, then it becomes a county problem, which seems to happen more and more. We don't want this to happen. We've worked very hard to take care of our residents. We have a social conscience and want to see them taken care of. The new buyer will be able to use the bond money and invest in properties in ways that we couldn't. We're not set up like that. I really don't understand why the county doesn't want to go along with this because it will not cost the county anything and will benefit everyone. You now have MARTA in Clayton County, new industries coming to Clayton County. The multifamily housing in Clayton County needs to be revitalized. If not, people are going to move to Henry County.
Thank you, sir.
Would y'all like these pictures?
No. Richard DeGorter. I hope I said that right, sir.
Please just restate your name for the record, please.
Okay, my name is Richard DeGorter. I live right outside of Washington, D.C. in Aldie, Virginia. And I'm here today as the Executive Director of the Linked Economic Development and Affordable Housing Foundation, which is a 22-year-old nonprofit 501c3 that has three missions. We promote economic development, we promote the availability of affordable housing, and we otherwise work to relieve the burdens of government. We are the purchasers of these 1,085 units. Today there are about 2,500 citizens. When we get full occupancy, it'll be closer to 3,000. So this is a very meaningful thing to your constituents. We're going to preserve this housing for a minimum of 15 years. We're going to improve the housing so that it will take the disabled and disadvantaged and the seniors who live there will have higher quality lives. I'm here tonight because we support good government, and we have worked very hard with governments across the country. We've done this in other jurisdictions, and we've had tremendous open arms support from the local government for what we do. We've built animal shelters and elementary schools and public parks and senior housing. Anything that government needs is our mission to do. We facilitate good government. I'm here tonight because while I would like the affirmative support of this body, I'm asking that you not thwart our efforts, that you not hamper and impede what we're trying to do for the citizens of Clayton County. It is, I don't understand why someone would not be in favor of doing things which promote economic development, which raise the tax base, which raise the quality of life of their citizens, both in terms of their social well-being and in their health and wellness. And for you to put a resolution on the agenda, which first, your Economic Development Authority was completely in favor of what we're doing. Your chairman was in favor of it, and we were frankly shocked to not have it the support of the county. Citizens deserve transparency and good government. They need to understand why it is that you're not in favor of the preservation and renovation and having a nonprofit come in to support good government in Clayton County.
Thank you.
And I have tried to communicate with all of you to ask why. Tell me why are you not, and if you're not supportive.
That's your time, sir. I'm sorry.
If you're not supportive, then at least don't be
Sir, thank you.
an impediment. Thank you very much.
Steve Wasserman.
My name is Steve Wasserman. I'm a resident of Cobb County. My firm represents the purchaser, who you just heard, of the properties as its financial and structuring consultant. This is a really strange situation because what started out as a routine, simple process has gotten very complicated for some reason that none of us can understand. So the question that I put out, and I'll repeat it, is why? Because you've heard from a seller who's very passionate about providing the highest quality of housing to his residents, and a buyer who's equally passionate about preserving housing for the long term. So I want to wrap this up as best I can, and hopefully you won't see me again, and we can move on. And I know you don't owe the buyer any answers or explanations, nor do you owe me any answers or explanations. But you do owe the owner, who pays over $1 million in real estate taxes in this community, an explanation. And you also owe the people who live there. And I would ask anyone in this room who either lives or works in these communities to please stand up. Great, thank you. And that's a small portion of the people who are affected by this. So I want you to know that I'm making these comments with true appreciation of the opportunity to speak on the record and directly to you as a body and as individuals. As you know, the buyer hoped to use bond financing that was going to be issued by the Development Authority. These bonds were at no cost, no risk to the county. And in fact, the county would have made a fee in excess of $150,000 on this transaction as the issuer fee. And it would have made an annual fee as well. But for some reason, this body declined and stopped that. And I'm curious as to why. Maybe somebody can give an answer to why. So because the buyer felt that maybe there was a hint that there would be some obligations on the part of the county, it sought another issuer. And that issuer is now being prohibited from operating in this state. That is the proposal that's ahead of this group. And again, my answer is why. These communities are occupied by families, many with children. There are seniors, veterans, and handicapped. Is your refusal based on some type of discrimination against these groups? Or is it discrimination against people who may receive government support in their rent? We can't figure it out. But we sure would like to hear why. Again, my question is why? All we're asking is to complete a housing transaction that is as routine as the day is long. Anyone in the financial industry knows that these bonds are very standard. So what we're seeing now is a situation where the U.S. government is going to get involved, both HUD and the Attorney General's office, for violations of the Fair Housing Act.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Henry Anderson.
Henry Anderson, unincorporated Clayton County, Hampton, Georgia. Good evening, everyone. Continuing on and giving crime information and statistics for unincorporated Clayton County, which is under the jurisdiction of the Clayton County Police Department for the first 3 years, 2013, 2014, and 2015. Of our 5 of you, our Clayton County Board of Commissioners being together as a 5-member commission team. I stated during the last 2 commission meetings that category number 1 burglars, there was a significant decrease. In category number 2 robberies, there was a slight increase. In category number 3 larcenies, there was a very significant increase. And in category number 4 motor vehicle thefts, there was a decrease. Now I start category number 5, aggravated assaults. Aggravated assault is defined as a crime of physically attacking another person with a deadly or dangerous weapon, such as a gun, sharp instrument, or a blunt instrument, which results in serious bodily harm or injury to the extent that the injury requires medical treatment or, in very serious cases, hospitalizations. In 2013, there were 572 reported cases of aggravated assaults in unincorporated Clayton County. In 2014, there were 661 cases. And in 2015, there were 546 cases. The final analysis in the 3-year time period mentioned 2013, 2014, 2015, with our 5 of you, our Clayton County Board of Commissioners presently serving in elected office, the number of aggravated assaults have decreased by 26 from 572 in 2013 to 546 in 2015. Number 6, simple assaults. Simple assault is defined as the least serious form of assault and it involves a minor injury or limited threat of violence. The law defines assault as a threatening behavior that puts another person in fear. So an example of this, if a person threatens to punch someone, that would be a simple assault because the person would be fearful of the punch even though no punch was thrown. Again, a simple assault is when a person attempts to commit a minor violent injury to another person if the person is committing an act which places another in reasonable apprehension of immediately receiving a violent injury. In 2013, there were 2,989 reported cases of simple assaults. In 2014, there were 3,103 cases. And in 2015, there were 3,204 cases. The final analysis in the 3-year time period mentioned 2013, 2014, 2015, with all 5 of you, our current Clayton County Board of Commissioners is presently serving in elected office, the number of simple assaults have significantly increased by 215 from 2,989 in 2013 to 3,204 in 2015. Category number 5, aggravated assaults, decreased. Category number 6, simple assaults, significantly increased. I will continue giving crime information and statistics for unincorporated Clayton County during the last 3 years at the next commission meeting for the purposes of showing all of you that even though crime is slightly down, approximately 3 to 5% in 2015 compared to 2014, there were several categories where crime had actually increased. The last 2 categories will be done at the next commission meeting. Then I will wrap it up because I will compare 2015, 2014, and 2013. So everyone can be ever vigilant in combating crime in Clayton County.
Thank you. Cindy Hankins.
My name is Cindy Hankins. I am a resident of Henry County. However, I have been employed by Clayton County 911 for 19 years. In an interview with WSB 2 weeks ago, a statement was made that the police departments and the fire departments were getting 5.5 because the county was losing too many personnel to other agencies, reference higher salaries. We are a small department. We're nowhere near the size of the police department and the fire department. However, in the last year, we've lost 23 people to higher salary jurisdictions. We've been on mandatory overtime for 4 years. In the last 2 years, we've been on 12-hour shifts. Some days, staffing requires us to take our 5 PD radios and split them into 4 radios, which means the motor units, the Tiger units, code enforcement, animal control have to be split up between the north and south end police department radios. That's not only a liability for the units on the road, but it's a liability for the citizens of Clayton County. Too many times I've answered the phone and heard, it took you longer than it should have for you to answer the phone. I can't say, yes sir, you're correct. It did take me longer than it should have because there's only 4 of us in the room. Call volume in 2015 for the total year was 654,000. So far this year, we're at 332,155. More money would help us hire and keep personnel. I was here when this county was good. I want to see it that way again. Thank you.
Devora Lang.
Hi, I'm Devora Lane. I currently reside in Fulton County, but of course I work for the Clayton County E911 Center. Firstly, I'd just like to say a big thank you for the raise. As you know, many Clayton County employees have worked almost about 10 years without a raise, either cost of living or a performance-based raise, but we just keep working, so I certainly and honestly want to say thank you. Now I just need you to make it right. Currently, there's 3 senators that have submitted a bipartisan letter to the Board of Management in reference to correctly categorizing dispatchers as public safety telecommunicators. So we have the backing of the folks in Washington, D.C. We just need to have the 100% backing of our very own local government. Those senators, they seem to understand what it truly means to put your life on the line. They may have even been privy to a study done by 2 Northern Illinois professors where they studied 171 dispatchers, and they found that all of them, each and every one, displayed a wide range of symptoms of PTSD. And as first responders, we live with flashbacks, nightmares, situational avoidance, and hyperarousal, which means that we have a hard time sleeping or a hard time concentrating. Those elected officials in Washington, D.C., well, they may get that we don't see the carnage, but they understand that we visualize that carnage or that wreckage. So those images and those sounds, they are seared into our psyche and branded onto our hearts forever. It's true, the dispatchers sit at a telephone console behind a radio, but it is behind the radio that impacts everything else. Allow us the honor once and for all of being considered public safety officials. We've already came before the Board of Commissioners way back in 2003, and during that budget year, the Board of Commissioners voted and we won. But shamefully, we are back again, thus taking a step backwards. And if we want to be considered a forward-moving, progressive county, we have to make innovative changes. We shouldn't have to fight the same old fights every 10 or 15 years. Currently, we only have 43 full-time employees. Our average salary is under $40,000, which means that we're asking for an additional $1,000 per year per employee inside of the 911 center. You can mix that with our attrition rate, stir in our turnover rate, and blend all of that with our increasing call volume, and even most of that money will be put back into the general fund within a matter of weeks as our longtime dispatchers are leaving to go to Fayette County or Fulton County or far north as Chamblee, where those counties, their dispatchers are already considered to be public safety. So let's just agree. We are public safety in benefits, we are public safety in fair pay, we are public safety whenever, wherever, and whoever. And lastly, before my time is up, I would be remiss if I didn't express our complete support for all of the commissioners, especially you, Mr. Chairman. We have supported you inside the precinct, we support you at the polls, we support you always.
Thank you, ma'am. Your
Thank
time
you.
is up.
All right.
Thank you. Looks like Paul Nally or Nolly.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Nally from up in Bartow County, Georgia, a little community called Pine Log. A little while ago, we all stood and we said a pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States, wherein we acknowledged freedom and justice for all, and that's the reason I'm here tonight. Unfortunately, rather than a speech, this will be a demonstration. Tracy Lawson, you're under arrest and you are charged with 5 state felonies.
Sir, you need to address this board and not the audience or anybody in the audience.
And she is also charged with 3 federal felonies, and I'm turning custody of her over to, I believe that's a law enforcement officer there to her left. And we will proceed on to the magistrate judge. This is what happens, unfortunately, when public officials ignore the rights, privileges, and immunities of citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Carl Swenson.
Carl Swenson, Clayton County Citizens Oversight Committee, current resident of Henry County. I'm here to invoke my absolute and guaranteed rights to also effect a citizen's arrest using Title 17, Chapter 4, Article 4, subsection 17, 4, 60, 61, and 62. The crimes being committed are Title 45, Chapter 3, Article 1, 45-3-1, and 45-11-1. These crimes have been committed by 3 of you, and one of you is Shana Rooks, one of you is Michael Edmondson, and the other is Gail Hambrick. Again, it is our absolute right as citizens of the state to effect these arrests, and it is also incumbent upon the peace officers here to now take them into custody. This meeting should officially be over because you guys have been in violation by virtue of the fact that you still hold state money. You 3 in particular have held it since before your last elections, so that means that you were in violation of your oath when you took it this last go-around. So I also have, I'm not going to put you under arrest because you have to have some continuity in this government in the meantime to make sure that things get paid. But Mr. Turner, you are also in violation of this, as is Sheriff Hill. 2 years worth of owing the state. And if you look at the first sentence of your oath, it clearly states that you are not in possession of any state-owned funds. I command peace officers here right now to come and take possession. If you do not, then you are in violation of your oath of office, and you are in violation of all that is sacred to everybody here in this county. Please do not hesitate. Please do your job. Please take custody right now. We need resolution. We're not getting it at the national level, and we only have the local level to deal with. Do your job. Come take possession of the arrestees.
Are you finished, sir? Thank you.
I am finished.
Thank you. Tori Dabney. Lori or Tori? Oh. Oh, I thought that was her. Oh, is that what it is? Earl? I'm sorry, sir.
My name is Joseph Earl Dabney. I've been a resident of Clayton County for the past 16 years. In general, I've used the landfill about 4 or 5 times a year, taking my small 4x8 trailer to the landfill. No big deal. Okay, recently I went through, paid the $40 to unload my trailer with 100 pounds of material. At the same time, a trailer from Fayetteville came through with literally 20 times the amount of material, almost a ton, and they paid the same $40 fee that I paid. Okay, so Clayton County residents are paying twice. Our taxes go to support the landfill and all the public employees. Then we pay again when we go to use the landfill. Okay, that raises the following questions. If it's becoming full, if the landfill is becoming full, why is there a flat rate up to 2,000 pounds? Secondly, why was the yard debris area closed off so that all the tree limbs and paper recyclables are all going into the landfill with the regular trash? And finally, most importantly, why are Clayton County residents subsidizing the residents and businesses from other counties? They don't pay taxes here. They certainly don't vote here. So why are they paying the same rate at the landfill that Clayton County residents are paying? Okay, I'd just like that to be considered. Thank you.
And let me say this, sir. We're going to have a presentation about the landfill to give you some additional information. The Landfill Waste Authority Board has a meeting on Thursday of this week at 10 a.m. It's the 7th, July 7th. Encourage you to be there as well, but at that time I will be asking the board to come up with some other options.
Okay, yep, looking forward to.
We hear you. We hear you.
Yep,
Yes.
thank you.
Madam Clerk, how we doing on time?
Mr. Chairman, we do have time for one more.
Nick Tolbert. Okay, we good. Valerie Henderson.
Good evening. My name is Valerie Henderson. I'm a Clayton County resident. I live on Warren Drive in the corner of Trinity Park Drive. And the only reason why I'm here is for 3 reasons. Number one, we have a lot of teenagers that are racing down our street on Warren Drive. It's very, very dark. And when they hit that, the cul-de-sac, they're going into the trees. And with me being a nurse of 32 years, I have to sit on my porch at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning and listen to the screams of these kids. And I've called 911 several times, but Bruce Mercer is one of the guys in transportation, I think, and he heard my cry, and he did put diamonds down there in the cul-de-sac to hopefully when you come over the hill, your headlights will hit the diamonds to let you know that the street ends. But we're still having incidences. So the only thing I would like to see is that we could get better lighting in our community, in our subdivision, on Warren Drive and on Trinity, because it's pitch dark down there. Yeah, so that was my only concern.
Yeah, our T&D director is Mr. Matarco.
Okay.
If you get with him, he'll tell you what you need to do to apply for this.
Thank you so very much. Do I need to
He
speak?
says that we have a streetlight petition on the.
Yes, you do.
On this,
On this issue, yeah.
well, it'll be taken care of in just a
Okay,
little bit.
thank you so much.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this concludes public comment. The board will now hear a presentation with regards to the landfill status and fees as presented by Mr. Jeff Matarco, Director of Transportation and Development.
Saying that you're supposed to dispose of all your fees, our funds, so. Okay, Mr. Matarco, please proceed.
Good evening. Hold on 1 second. You kind of knew that's what's going to happen. There we go. Okay, quick overview just to orient everyone on the landfill. Of course, the area that we're disposing of trash right now is Site 3. Hastings Bridge Road is right here, and this is where the entrance of the scale house is. And of course, Site 2 is our closed landfill, and Site 1 over here is the old closed landfill. Okay, the entrance road, what most citizens do not see, this is the perspective of where we're disposing trash and debris right now. As you can see, this is the road you're coming into, so it's pretty well elevated. This is a view. Off in the distance is our current landfill, and we're sitting on top, where I took this picture, on top of the closed landfill. This is a gas extraction well that's installed, a part of the power plant operation we have down there. This is how it's installed in a finished landfill. This is over on the current landfill where we're working right now. And as you can see, when the gas extraction wells were installed, they installed it to the elevation at the time. And you can see where we're disposing of debris behind it. And the next slide is another perspective of it. As you can see in this slide, we have a lot of dirt and trash piled up almost against it. And that's some of the dilemmas we're running into right now, and this is not really a good safety practice, and it's limiting our capacity out there now. This is a chart showing the amount of disposal in tons we've seen over the years. Of course, when the economy went down, you can see we had lower disposal rates. When the inert landfill were sold a couple of years ago is about this time frame. So you can see a lot of that inert waste that was over into another site started to come into the traditional MSW site that we have. This is another chart which shows out, if you look at per day, how much is all the tons coming across our scales. Again, you can see when the inert sold, our intake has drastically gone up. This is a cross-section, just to give you a relative view, this is the current landfill right here now. Cell 5 and 6 has not been developed. There's no trash coming into there. This is idealistically the height that we would be able to install debris. And our current guess at how high we are right now is this kind of dark blue line. So as you can see, this is the area theoretically that we have left to dispose of waste. This is the area that's already filled, and this is the area that's permitted by EPD, but it has not been developed where it can receive waste. The wells I showed you earlier, which is some of the dilemma we're running into, these are the locations. These little numbers just represent where the wells are, and the blue lines are the piping of the wells. Right now, we are been depositing in this area where the wells are not. We are getting into the wells here where something's got to give really fast, or like I showed you before, we're going to have safety issues, and we're beginning to have capacity issues working around these wells. If you look at the big picture of the landfill, this data is about a year old. It's our updating cycle with our EPD permit. If you look at the whole capacity of the whole landfill, you've got 25 years. That does not consider the development of 5 and 6. So if you go down to what we have taken 5 and 6 out, you're around 12 and a half years. That's before you start factoring in the huge increase in the intake we've been seeing and the inert site impact, both the selling out of our site and EPD basically forcing some private inert landfills to close about the same time. If you take that into consideration, we're looking at 6.5 years worth of capacity of giving our current intake. Our gas extraction wells, which are essentially in the way of putting trash out there now, puts that down to 1.5 to 2 years. If something doesn't change in 1.5 to 2 years, we'll be coming forward to close the landfill and pay the exorbitant cost to cap it and do all the things that EPD wants us to do. This inert site, when that closed or was sold off, the yard debris, waste, asphalt, concrete, all of that is now going into our main landfill, the MSW landfill. And the reason why we can do that is because of the extraction wells and the power plant system. So a simple solution would be to be able to remove these wells, to remove the conflict, but then we can't take the yard debris into the MSW. That would have to go someplace else. And that means anything that a tree falls down in the middle of the night and it covers a road and we pick up, we can't even dispose of it in our own landfill at that point. So the simple solution may not be so simple when you start looking at the impact to all county operations. You also have, if the extraction wells go away, or some of them go away, it's going to impact the power plant operation down there that fuels the energy for the CI building, the Geo Group prison. It pays for all the electricity associated with theirs. It also is the basis of the Train Energy contract. So there's ramifications on what we do at the landfill dealing with this capacity issue about other aspects of the county government. I try to capture the issues the Solid Waste Authority has been dealing with the last several years. Probably the biggest one is philosophically, is the landfill county service, or is it enterprise operation the way our financial department sets it up and it's supposed to operate? Dollar for dollar, it's supposed to pay for itself. Obviously, over the years from the transfers from the general fund, it's not paying for itself. It's not a self-sustaining thing. So there's conflicts in how it's operated and how it's supposed to operate today. The true cost of disposal, our consultant did a study a couple of years ago that pegged the true cost for us to take 1 ton of trash and handle it and dispose of it, given our current landfill operations, and that figure was around $84 a ton. They updated that, which is about 18 months ago, and it rose to $108 a ton. When you look at the true cost for the county to dispose of something, it kind of conflicts with the enterprise operation and the cost of our gate rates to get that ton of trash. Of course, I've already touched on the transfers from the general fund. The last couple of years, it's been about $1 million, and some of that's affected by us having to buy dirt to go into the daily operations of the landfill, both for covering the trash on daily, weekly, and long-term covering. The question kind of gets into, is it a revenue operation, or is the limiting factor the disposal volume that we have capability to take in? And how long-term is that disposal volume given the intake from private citizens and the intake that we are producing ourselves just as a county operation that goes in there? Of course, you've got the cell 5 and 6 development costs, which a couple of years ago were estimated at $7.5 million to make that area ready to receive trash. It's not easy, it's not a cheap investment to make. The gas to energy plant, that's the power plant, and the inert waste, how that affects the issues out there. These unfortunately, what we've come to the conclusion on, it's a spider web of issues. There's no linear path of do this, then this gets rectified, then do this. It's a myriad of options, opportunities, but also pitfalls in the choices of how to deal with the landfill and solid waste in the county. And of course, you've got the current internal county operations, which several fiscal years in a row, we were running about 30% of the intake tonnage was coming from current internal operations. And if you would put a dollar value of that, it's somewhere around $600,000. Now, with the increased tonnage coming across the scale, our percentage is somewhere around 20% is actually coming from just daily county operations. Potential next steps. This is what's faced by the Solid Waste Authority. You can go forward and develop cells 5 and 6. Somewhere around $7.5 million is a guesstimate right now. The design plans haven't been made. There has been no reach out to the market vendors to see if that number has gone up. Your time frame to start the design and implement it to receive trash is approximately 2 years. So when you look back at the old slide, about 1.5 years, 2 years under our current operation, trying to move forward with developing cells 5 and 6, the time frame doesn't work. You can move forward with possibly entertaining a waste transfer station. Forest Park has a waste transfer station. Stockbridge has one. Fayetteville has one, where essentially citizens bring their trash, or the county can bring their trash and dump it off. It gets packaged together in a big semi-trucks and hauled off into a major landfill. You can simply budget the closure and the post-closure expenses that are 18 months to 2 years away. Your closure expenses is pushing $8 million. That's to close the landfill, cap it, and get all the EPD permits regulated. And in that time, you will have to address your post-closure care and monitoring expenses, which are yearly budgeted by y'all for the landfill budget. But since now the time frame is going to be condensed down to 2 years, you're probably looking at $2-3 million conservatively that you would have to stow away to be able to care for this facility for 30 years. So the question isn't so much about revenue now, it's really cost avoidance on some of these decisions about the $10 to $12 million you might be facing in the next couple of years to deal with the landfill. You've got some talk at the Solid Waste Authority about waste collection service. Possibly the county going forward in mandating a collection service and how to do that. That might play a role in the impact to the landfill in a couple of years if that comes to fruition. You've always got this internal county government use that's not going to go away. If the landfill closes, that trash has to go someplace. You will now realize expenses on disposing of that trash, hauling it to another vendor. The efficiency of mainly T&D and Refuse Control being able to pick up that debris and bring it to the landfill to take it someplace else is going to be a consideration in the back of everyone's minds. So if you look at disposal fees as a roundabout way of possibly slowing down the intake of the tons, the trash into the landfill, then you get into, again, many different options of how you would do a pricing plan. You can look at county versus non-county. You can look at business owners versus residential. You can look at, obviously, property owners and citizens, even at the pre-July 1st rate of a pickup truck of $15 for in-county versus $20 in out-county. You don't know how many times people are coming up, well, I own a business or I own property here. I should get the in-county rate instead of out-of-county. So there's all different ways you can do it, but yet there's operational drawbacks. You can limit the volume, which is counterintuitive the way you run a landfill. Most landfills, which are for profit, want high tons for low customers. If you go forward with volume limits, you want a lot of customers but low tonnage each. So the efficiency of the landfill will be affected for the amount of tons you're taking in, but it's an option. And you can look at a tonnage rate versus a minimum moving forward. And this is sort of along the lines of what the Solid Waste Authority went for in the new rate plan about setting a tonnage rate of $100 and a minimum at $100. The last slide here is just the increase that has been implemented, the timeline on it. The Solid Waste Management Authority, of course, voted on May 26. Originally, it was anticipated that the Board of Commissioners were going to ratify those rates on June 7th, and we know that that was pulled from the agenda and it wasn't necessary. So immediately after that, the landfill staff went forward with implementing the July 1st deadline that was voted on by the Solid Waste Authority. And initially, we did website notification. That same day, we started giving handouts to all the routine customers that came through the landfill. When you got a receipt, you got a notice saying that the rates were going up. We posted multiple signs and banners, anything to grab people's attention as they come through the gates that the rates were going up, ask questions. And unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of questions. We got a lot of statements given to us, but it got the word out. I know your offices have been overwhelmed. I know the chairman's been overwhelmed with questions. The AJC and the News Daily, and we failed to put up here, WSB actually ran a news article on about it too. The last couple of days before July 1st, the landfill was probably the busiest it's been in many, many years of everyone trying to beat the rate increase. So the notice got out there. Of course, we would love to give more time along there, but at the end of the day, it was going to take effect per the direction of the Solid Waste Management Authority, and we went forward with July 1st as quickly as possible. That pretty much concludes the presentation of where we stand at the landfill. So I'll entertain questions.
All right, is there any questions by any of the board members?
Yes, so I guess you all still have the effective date and price increase? Is that active now?
July 1st.
It went in effect July 1st, last Friday.
Okay.
Ms. Matrarco, I have a question or two on the financing. And correct me from my poor memory, but there were some bonds issued several years ago for the purchase, development, closure, and post-closure costs, right? And there's a debt service that is current right now on those?
The landfill pays a debt service on bonding, yes.
Okay, and the proceeds of those bonds has some amount, I'm not sure if the term is escrowed or bonded, but there's an amount set aside for the closure and post-closure costs. Is it a trust? What is that?
I don't know if it's in a trust. There's some money set aside. Most of that for post-closure care and monitoring comes from the yearly budget. I don't know how much, if any, was in the bonding for that.
It was like $3, $5, maybe $8 million. I think the conversation is a couple of years old that we had, but it's in the millions. 3.5 million. So of the estimated closure and post-closure costs you said were $8 million that we would have to deal with, 3.5 of it's sitting in escrow waiting for that time to come.
Your cost is probably going to be a little over 10.
Okay.
On a guesstimate for now, this year's terms, yes.
So if the landfill closes in, what did you say, could close as soon as a year or two, where do the revenues come from to continue to service that bond? The solid waste management would default?
I don't know.
Do you know if those bonds are revenue bonds or if they were collateralized by the county? Are they exclusively revenue bonds? They're not backed or signed off on, collateralized, guaranteed by the county?
I have to look and see, I don't know for sure.
Okay, I got a nod over there. Okay, so we've got revenue bonds, and do we have any idea how much the outstanding principal is? About halfway through the life, maybe? Right. But that's probably 10, 15 million at least, right? So we got 10 to 15 million or more in bonded debt, 10 million of closure. When y'all sold that portion of the landfill a few years ago, how much was the approximate sales proceeds of that?
I believe it was around 1.6 million.
And where is that money? Is that set aside for these future costs, or was that spent on operations?
I'm sorry, Ramona, if you don't mind, please pull the mic towards you.
I had to look on the, I'll have to go look on the records and see on the financial books where if we put that in a reserve for that or not. I can't say off the top of my head right now.
Okay, so we may or may not have that money set aside as
Right.
well.
And also on the $3.5 million that's in escrow, we're gonna have to check, some of that might be for site one, but we need to check to confirm that as well. So we may not have the full $3.5 million for that for the current site foreclosure, but we need to check the bonds and see what the actual bond document said.
Okay, but so the severity of this is that without specific figures, we might have as much as 10 or 15 million or more in bonded debt that doesn't have a revenue source to fund, in addition to what you say about $10 million of closure and post-closure costs. So we're talking $20, $30 million of costs on a landfill that might be closed in a year or two?
It could be if the financials are on that side.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Jack. When I looked at our ordinance, section 78-1, it says, all who deposit solid waste, garbage, refuge, or other similar materials in the county landfill shall pay a fee. The fee is established and may be modified as needed by the Board of Commissioners of the county. So why aren't we in charge of modifying or determining what the fee is?
If you look at the
Mr. Hancock, I'm sorry, if you could, please, if you can speak it to the mic.
If you look at the 94 ordinance that created the Solid Waste Management Authority, once that entity is created, it is governed by state law. State law, which is found in 12.850 et sec, specifically 12.856, which is the powers, duties, and authority of the authority. Subsection 10 indicates that authority has the right to fix rental charges.
So
State law just trumps that. I don't know why in 95 they passed 9544, which created 78-2, but in my opinion, when they created the authority, the board lost the right to set the rates.
do we need to repeal this as a board?
You could. I mean, that would certainly
Because it's in
that would
conflict.
keep somebody from looking at it and
Right.
saying, why aren't you doing that?
Abs-
I just don't think you can do it that way since you're using authority. If the county owned the landfill, you could dissolve the authority. You have the right to do that. But you have to account for the debt and the operations. Then you can set the rates, but otherwise I don't think you can.
I don't think we want to go down that.
No, I agree. I just don't want citizens who would go to our ordinance and say, well, you guys are responsible for the fee, to not also have the mechanism to understand that there's state regulations or state codifications that we are governed by.
Yeah, and
So do we need to change it?
I mean, I would recommend that you repeal it.
Right, that's what I asked.
And I studied Title 12, Section 8 real close to make sure there wasn't anything in there that said that the Board of Commissioners had the authority to retain that right, and it just doesn't exist. I mean,
Okay.
it just doesn't, it's not there.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Of course, this year I'm serving on that board. I wasn't at that meeting where the rates were, new rates were put into effect. But I think one of the things about this is this is a board made up of citizens, so mostly citizens, we're chaired by the chairman here. But so to me, again, I would encourage all citizens who have concerns to attend the Solid Waste Management Board meeting. And I think that's a good thing about a lot of these boards and authorities that we have. There are citizens making these decisions about these things.
But no, sir. But at the end of the day, we have to do something. So something has to be done. But we will have a meeting on this Thursday to discuss that very matter. Thank you for your
I do have one question. What's the percentage of people who use the landfill that are from outside of the county?
It's been a popular question lately. Relying on the staff at the
Right.
landfill who's been doing this for years and years, they guess about 40% are Clayton County citizens, and the majority are coming from Henry County, quite honestly.
So is there a way to parse it out so that there is a higher rate for those people who live outside of the county?
That's one of the things we're going to be discussing.
And what's the percentage used by the county?
The internal
Right,
operations,
right.
Currently we're about 20% of how much is being disposed. Historically, the last 4 or 5 years, it's been closer to 30%. Though.
Can I get a clarification, Mr. Marcharko? When you say 40% are used by the county, are you talking about 40% of that 70, 80% that's not internal, or are you talking about 40% is used by the county?
I would say 40% of the customers' non-county internal operations.
Okay.
So it'd be 40 of the
So
current
60% of it is from out of town, out of county, and another 20% of it is the county itself. So when you start talking about that slice that's used by our own residents, it just gets skinnier and skinnier.
We haven't
best
looked at
guess.
from that perspective. We were looking at who the customers coming across the scale non-county wise. That's where the 40 and the 60% come from.
Okay, and that's 40 and 60% of the non-county.
Right. And there's not a scientific way to do it. It's just local knowledge and talking to the drivers when they come across. Of course, on the side with like a pickup truck, they have to disclose and show a driver's license. But the heavy volume on your commercial trucks or roll-off containers or something like that, there is a lot of conversation, repeat customers, and we know where they're from.
Do we have any of the companies, the large companies like, what's, Waste?
Waste
Right,
Management.
do they use some of these commercial businesses, like?
A couple at times, but not much when you consider like a waste management.
Right.
Most of the industry is structured where your collection agency, a big hauler, has their own landfill. So their business model is to go deposit it, the refuse, the trash, the debris in their own landfill. That's the business model. And their landfills dwarf our capacity of our landfill.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Montarco.
Are we
Madam-
gonna notify our citizens about the meeting? How are we gonna go about doing that, the Thursday meeting at 10 o'clock? Yeah, we need to notify the citizens.
It'll be taken care of.
Chairman
Okay.
discuss.
We'll work it out.
Are you gonna move
It'll
it
be
to-
on TV too, 24.
The board will now consider requests of Deborah
Today is-
Brewer, Director of Central Services.
It's cold.
Please take them together unless the board member wants one singled out. Hearing none, proceed.
Good evening. Central Services has 5 requests. The first is a recommendation for award for RFP 1632 brokerage services for property and casualty insurance. The recommendation is to award to the most responsive and responsible proponent in meeting the specifications with the highest score, which is Edgewood Partners Insurance Center, doing business as Epic Insurance Brokers and Consultants located in Duluth, Georgia. Funding is available through the county's general fund. The next one is the recommendation to amend the contract for RFP 1436 CRS-2H liquid asphalt supply. The awarded vendor Associated Asphalt Connolly LLC, doing business as Seco Asphalt Emulsions, assigning their contract to Ergon Asphalt and Emulsions Incorporated for the project as listed. The Board of Commissioners approved this award on August 5th, 2014, and there's no cost effect with this. The next is to request for a sole source award for sole source number 2016-29 for the support and maintenance of the Clayton County Public Safety 700 megahertz project 25 radio communication systems. Request of the Information Technology Department for award to Motorola Solutions Incorporated, located in Schaumburg, Illinois, for the support and maintenance of the system in the amount of $438,374 for 1 year. Funding is available through the Information Technology fiscal year ending 2017 budget. The next is a request for change order number 25, amendment to RFP 1340, SPLOST Construction Management at Risk Services for construction of the Clayton County Fire Department multipurpose building. The request is amend to the contract to accept a credit in the amount of $154,757.86, which represents a refund from the general contractor's contingency and the owner's contingency. The funds will be returned to the SPLOST undesignated fund for reallocation. The change order exhibit is attached for your review and information. The request is for you to approve the recommendations to authorize the chairman or his designee to execute all the necessary documents to accomplish the intent of the contracts, and authorize the chairman, authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget accordingly. That miss? Oh. Thank you.
So, go ahead.
We have one additional recommendation for renewal and or amendment of annual contract, RFB 1420, Clayton County Janitorial Supplies, annual contract renewal and amendments to adjust items. One of the vendors was not able to renew, and their items were awarded to the next low vendor, and also to adjust costs due to manufacturer's increase. It's a multiple award with one with Breakthrough Solutions Janitorial, located in Snellville, Georgia, with Dade Paper Company, located in Austell, Georgia, Georgia Correctional Industries, located in Decatur, Georgia, Interboro Packaging Corporation, located in Montgomery, New York, Keiko Supply Company, located in Smyrna, Georgia, People's Janitorial Supply, located in Forest Park, Georgia, and Pyramid School Products, located in Tampa, Florida. The renewal period is from July 16, 2016 through July 15, 2017. There are no remaining renewals on this contract, and the Board of Commissioners approved the award on July 15, 2014. The request is for you to approve the recommendation, authorize the chairman or his designee to execute all necessary documents to accomplish the intent of the contract, and authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget accordingly. Now, that's all.
Okay, is there a motion? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Probably moving to second. Any questions on any of the items?
I have a question.
Commissioner Edmondson.
Ms. Brewer, this may or may not be more of a legal question, but the very second to last, the RFP 13-40, the SPLOST Construction Management at Risk Services, the credits. If you can help me understand, there was a conversation a year or so ago about the costs associated with this project. And I'm wondering if this is an acknowledgement or a settlement, or it could be perceived as that, or if there are some other issues being pursued or out there regarding the costs incurred.
No, when this was awarded, we added contingency for unknowns, and these are just a return of those contingencies, because the project did come in at the budget that we did not need to spend.
And this is specific to the fire, nothing to do with the police precinct and
fire.
some of those issues?
No, just a 5 multipurpose
Okay.
building.
Okay, I just thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The board will consider request of Nella Cooper, Human Resources Manager.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. I am here this evening with a request from the District Attorney's Office to reclassify the Executive Secretary, grade 20, and the Legal Assistant position, grade 18, to Administrative Manager, grade 23, and Administrative Supervisor, grade 20. And with this, there will be an annual savings of $6,699.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Properly moved and second. Any questions?
Is this still necessary now that she's been arrested? Sorry.
Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
The zoning administrator.
Oh, that's right. I've been arrested.
Oh.
Can I make that motion since I was arrested also?
Interim Chief Staff Attorney, Jack Hancock.
Too much fun. Ladies and
Hancock,
gentlemen,
please take them all together except for.
Oh, that's right. It was me and her.
Oh, Lord. My eyes, my eyes, my eyes.
2016.
141.
all right, so, Resolution 2016-131 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to accept a donation from Systems and Methods, Inc. of a 5,000-gallon aviation fuel truck, to authorize the chairman to accept the donation on behalf of Clayton County and to execute any documents and otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of the resolution, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, all as may be required to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. Resolution 2016-132 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to reimburse a sterilization fee paid by Sharon Renee Doken, to authorize the chairman or his designee to perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, all as may be required under the terms of the agreement, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. Resolution 2016-133 is a resolution to authorize Clayton County to accept a vehicle seized for forfeiture by the Clayton County Police Department Drug Task Force, to authorize the vehicle for county usage and assign the vehicle to the Clayton County Police Drug Task Force, to authorize Central Services, Fleet Maintenance, and the Chief Financial Officer to take all actions necessary to achieve the intent of this resolution, to provide an effective date of the resolution and for other purposes. Resolution 2016-134 is a resolution to authorize Clayton County to accept a vehicle seized for forfeiture by the Clayton County Drug Task Force, to authorize, the Clayton County Police Department Drug Task Force, to authorize the vehicle for county usage and assign the vehicle to the Clayton County Police Drug Task Force, to authorize Central Services, Fleet Maintenance, and the Chief Financial Officer to take all actions necessary to achieve the intent of this resolution, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. Resolution 2016-135 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to convey an easement to Georgia Power for the purpose of installing electric distribution service to the Clayton County Animal Shelter, to authorize the chairman to execute all documents necessary and otherwise to perform all other acts necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. Resolution 2016-137 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to convey a permanent easement and temporary construction easement to the Clayton County Water Authority associated with construction of a new sanitary sewer force main, to authorize the chairman to execute all documents necessary and otherwise to perform all other acts necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. Resolution 2016-139 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to enter into an aging sub-grant contract with Atlanta Regional Commission, providing for the terms and conditions under which the county will receive grant funds to render services in connection with older adult programs, to authorize the chairman to execute the aging subgrant contract and otherwise to perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of the resolution, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. And Resolution 2016-140 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County Corrections Department to enter into an intergovernmental agreement to receive financial incentive awards through a fund administered by the Georgia Department of Corrections for establishing GED classrooms or learning centers and expanding learning time and access to resources in county correctional institutes, to authorize the chairman or his designee to execute any documents and to otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, all as may be required, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any questions on any of the items? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Resolution 2016-141 is a resolution disapproving the financing by the Public Finance Authority of a capital improvement project to be located within Clayton County, Georgia. Public Finance Authority is a public entity organized in the state of Wisconsin and is subject to Wisconsin statutes which require the local governing body's approval before they can do any business within a county.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Probably moved in second. Are there any questions? I have a question for this board because I'm kind of confused. The Clayton County Housing Authority does exactly what these gentlemen are asking us to do in reference to this bond. The Housing Authority provides for affordable housing through the apartment complex. They work with individual investors to buy bonds. Matter of fact, since 1982, when the Clayton County Board of Commissioners created the Housing Authority, they have entered into, the Housing Authority has entered into roughly 15 deals with affordable housing apartment complexes within Clayton County. So how is this any different from anything else that we have been doing within our county borders? And I'll pose that to you, Mr. Edmondson, since you are the author of this legislation, but at the same time, I do believe, like the rest of the people I've asked, that you owe the citizens of Clayton County an explanation.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can't speak as to the history of the Clayton County Housing Authority. As you've said yourself countless times, let's put it to the board. I've added this to the agenda. I simply do not think it's in the best interest of the county, and so I put it to the board.
When you say it's not in the best interest of the county, these apartment complexes are 90+% occupied. Affects the livelihood of the men and women, young and old, that lives in these apartment complexes. I would think that when we were elected as elected officials to represent Clayton County citizens, that their best interest is to provide them with the best quality of life that's affordable, that these gentlemen are putting up money to renovate and beautify the properties in which they're living in. How is that not in their best interest?
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to debate it with you. If you feel that it's your
Simply
job
asking you a question,
to
Mr. Edmondson.
provide the best quality of affordable, what did you say? That is certainly your prerogative. I simply just don't think this is in the best interest of the county.
I still feel that that's not sufficient, but that's your answer, and I guess we have to accept that. Are there any other questions? Hearing none. No, sir. No, sir. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. It's three, Commissioner, I didn't hear you. Were you? Okay. 3-2, so it passes.
We do need a short executive session on 2 litigation matters.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Item number 20 is to accept a streetlight petition addition to existing streetlight district Trinity Park subdivision in District 3. This is Commissioner Rook's district.
Ms. Henderson? I was asking. That was me. You made a petition for a streetlight petition. There's nobody in opposition. I move that we accept the streetlight petition.
I'll second it. Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The next two items are appointments to the Veterans Advisory Board to serve in a new seat, the term of 4 years, expiring on June 6, 2020. The first is for Vice Chairman Gregory's appointment, District 1.
I offer a motion to place Mr. Kenneth Gilmore from Jonesboro on the Veterans Advisory Board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The next appointment is from Commissioner Edmondson's district, District 4.
I don't have
Are there any
one.
nominations? Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this does conclude this evening's agenda. We do have a request to go into executive session on litigation.
Motion to go into executive session.
I move that we go into executive session.
I'll second it. Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you all and have a good day. Okay, motion to reconvene is Sandra over there? Okay.
I move that we reconvene.
Second it. Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Chairman, we present for your consideration Resolution 2016-142, which is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to enter into a settlement agreement, release of all claims, and indemnity agreement with Shalanka Hendricks, to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement and otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of the resolution, to authorize chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, all as may be required under the terms of the agreement, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. The amount of, this was an automobile accident claim, the settlement amount is $65,000.
All right, is there a motion?
I move that we accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any questions? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Mr. Hancock, do we need to amend the, or say something about?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. If we could allow the record to reflect, Madam Clerk, that the executive session was held in addition to litigation matters for personnel matters.
Ms. Stanford?
Chairman, Board of Commissioners, with that being said, in light of our Central Services Director, Ms. Brewer, effective last day being Friday, we will come in the form of a recommendation that we name Ms. Carol Rogers as the Interim Director of Central Services. Also, the caveat to that would be the Risk Management Division of Central Services would also answer to the Legal Department.
And the effective date?
Effective date being Saturday, I think that's the 9th.
July 9th.
July 9th.
All right, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept his recommendation.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any questions? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, no other business before this board. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second it. Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Good night.